Money doesn't come from where you think. It is part of the divine flow to which you belong. Florence Scovel Shinn. Discover now how to transform your relationship with money through the timeless teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn. In this deep and captivating video, you'll be guided through real stories, spiritual insights, and practical lessons that reveal a powerful truth. Money isn't separate from you. It's part of the divine flow that sustains all creation. Learn how to release scarcity, activate your faith, and co-create a life of true prosperity. If you're seeking financial freedom with purpose and spiritual alignment, this video is for you. Money as an expression of the invisible good. Picture a woman sitting at her kitchen table at the end of the month. The silence in the house is broken only by the ticking clock and the sharp sound of envelopes being torn open. A dim light falls over a stack of unpaid bills, and the tired look in her eyes carries the weight of countless no's, sleepless nights, and a battle that feels endless. She takes a deep breath and whispers, "Why does money always slip away from me?" This scene is all too familiar for many. And maybe, at some point, you were that woman, or that man. Maybe not in the exact details, but in the feeling, the sense that money is a rare visitor, coming and going without warning. Something distant, almost unreachable. But what if I told you? That's only part of the story. That money isn't against you and it's not absent. But maybe, just maybe, it's simply responding to the way you've been seeing it. Florence Scovel Shinn wrote something revolutionary for her time, and still deeply relevant today. Do not think of money as something separate from you. It is part of the divine flow to which you belong. That sentence, if truly felt, can unlock something within you. Because money is not the enemy, nor is it an obstacle. It's one of the most tangible expressions of the invisible good that surrounds us, simply waiting for a conscious invitation to flow into our lives. Florence teaches us that money doesn't come only from a paycheck, a client, a contract, or luck. Those are just channels. True wealth flows from the source, that creative intelligence present in all things, which truly wants to see you prosper. But there's a condition. It can only come when you align yourself with its frequency. And what does that mean in practical terms? It means that if you're constantly saying things like, "I never have enough money," "Everything's too expensive," "I can't afford that," "Money is dirty," or "Rich people are greedy," you're closing the door. You're vibrating at a frequency of separation. You're turning away from the abundant nature that is your birthright. But when you begin to see money as energy, as part of your own spiritual field, everything begins to shift. You start to respect money, to bless it, to give thanks for it, even when it still seems like there's not enough. And that act changes everything, because, as Florence says, the subconscious does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined. Simply responds to what you affirm, feel, and believe. Have you ever noticed how money seems to respond to your emotional state? Maybe there was a time when you felt lighter, more confident, or simply at ease. And suddenly, money showed up without effort. An unexpected gift, a new client, a generous discount, a yes you didn't see coming. Share your story in the comments. Your experience could light the path for someone listening right now who feels alone. Let's create a safe, supportive space, where talking about money isn't taboo, but a seed of healing and awareness. Together, we're learning to recognize the invisible beliefs that sabotage our financial flow, and how to gently dissolve them through the timeless wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn. You won't want to miss this. Enjoy and leave a like. This will help this video reach more people who, like you, are ready to free their relationship with money and the divine. The invisible beliefs that sabotage your cash flow. Emily grew up hearing a phrase that would silently shape her relationship with money. "It's better to be poor and honest than rich and selfish." It sounded like just a saying, one of those innocent grandmotherly lessons. But that little phrase, repeated over the years, sank deep into her subconscious. Without even realizing it, Emily began to pull back whenever a new opportunity to prosper came her way. A new job, a raise, a business idea. She told herself it wasn't the right time, that maybe she wasn't ready, that she didn't want to seem greedy. But deep down, what held her back was an invisible belief that to be prosperous meant losing her goodness, her integrity, her soul. That story is real for thousands, maybe millions, of people. And maybe, in some way, it's real for you too. Because most of our beliefs about money aren't conscious. They're inherited. They're stories we heard as children, experiences we watched our parents live through, random phrases that were accepted as truth, but never questioned. Florence Scovel Shinn teaches that your outer life is a perfect reflection of your inner world. And that includes your finances. If you often find yourself repeating, even silently, phrases like, "Money doesn't grow on trees. If you're born poor, you die poor. The more I make, the more I spend. I'm just not good with money. Things never work out for me," then don't be surprised if your financial flow feels blocked, unstable, or scarce. These phrases act as subconscious commands. And the subconscious, as Florence clearly explains, is literal. It doesn't analyze, filter, or argue. It simply carries out what you keep affirming with emotion. That feeling of money slipping through your fingers like water. More often than not, it's not bad budgeting. It's unconscious self-sabotage. It's your inner system whispering, "I'm not worthy. I shouldn't have too much. If I have more, someone else will have less. This just isn't meant for me." Take a moment now and ask yourself, what money stories did you hear most often as a child? How did your parents talk about money? Was there tension, scarcity, or was there ease and trust? Share in the comments below. Talking about this might be the very first step in breaking invisible cycles. Your story could be the key that awakens someone else, someone who's standing at the same crossroads you once faced. And here's a practical exercise inspired by Florence's teachings. Grab a pen and paper and write down every negative phrase about money you've ever heard or believed. Then, next to each one, write a new, elevated affirmation that neutralizes that old belief. Example: money doesn't grow on trees. Next to it, write, "Money comes to me from expected and unexpected sources. There's never anything left." Next to it, write, "There is always more than enough for me." This simple daily practice helps re-educate your subconscious and makes room for new financial possibilities. As Florence once said, "You cannot attract prosperity if you are surrounded by thoughts of limitation." That's why identifying and dissolving these beliefs is not only the most urgent step, it's also the most freeing, for anyone who truly desires to live in harmony with the divine flow of abundance. If this content helped you see something that was previously hidden, subscribe to the channel now. Let's continue together, undoing old ties and making room for a new life, based on awareness, faith, and true prosperity. We'll also discuss how to use words as a tool for creation and financial liberation, the hidden power behind what you say and think. The creative power of the word. What you say is shaping your destiny. When Peter lost his job, the first thought that came to his mind was, "I knew this would happen. Nothing ever works out for me." In the days that followed, he kept repeating, both silently and out loud, things like, "Nothing's going to come up. I'm getting desperate. The job market is terrible. I'm broke." These phrases seemed harmless, natural venting during a hard time. But something strange happened. Weeks went by and no opportunities appeared. Every door seemed shut. His anxiety kept growing. A friend, who was familiar with Florence Scovel Shinn's work, gently said to him, "Peter, what you're declaring is becoming your reality." Peter was caught off guard. "What do you mean?" he asked. That's when he first heard one of Florence's core principles. Every word you speak is a decree. It's a seed, and it will bear fruit, whether of lack or of abundance. Florence teaches that words carry vibrational and creative power. They're the most direct way we communicate with both our subconscious and the divine mind. When we speak, we're programming our energy field, activating spiritual laws, and shaping the flow of reality. Yes, what you say every day, especially with emotion, is what creates your life experience. You know those little habits of speech. "I'm terrible with money. That's way too expensive for me. Money disappears from my account. I always mess up my bills. These sound like facts, but they're actually affirmations in disguise. And as Florence would say, the subconscious doesn't know the difference between a joke, a complaint, or sarcasm. It simply obeys. Imagine your words as the steering wheel of a car. Wherever you turn, your life follows. If you keep repeating that nothing ever works out, the universe will respond accordingly. But if you speak with faith, even when everything seems hard, all things are working together for my good. Divine provision is infinite and immediate. Then you're clearing the way for the invisible to become visible. Peter started putting this into practice. Instead of complaining, he'd wake up and say, "Today I receive good news. The universe is working in my favor." He began blessing every bill with gratitude, declaring, "This amount comes back to me multiplied. Every payment I make is a seed I'm planting." And within just a few weeks, something shifted. An old colleague recommended him for a job. The pay was better. The role was more aligned. And the craziest part, he got the offer without even sending a resume. Coincidence? Florence would call it spiritual law in motion. Now pause for a second and think. What phrases have you been repeating every day? Are they setting you free or keeping you stuck? Drop a comment below. What's one phrase you're ready to let go of? And what's the new truth you're choosing instead? Your shift might inspire someone else to change too. And if you're ready to start now, here's a simple, powerful exercise. Florence exercise. The word diary. For the next 3 days, write down every phrase you say about money, work, the future, and your sense of worth. Everything, no filter. Then go back and review each one. Ask yourself, does this phrase expand me or limit me? For every limiting statement, write a new affirmation, one that aligns with the spiritual truth that you are supported, guided, and abundantly provided for by the divine. Florence says, the word is your magic wand. Use it wisely. It's time to wake up to this awareness, to realize that you are already a co-creator. The only question is, are you creating with intention or just repeating unconsciously? Leave your like so we can reach more people to spread this awareness, and also talk about the power of mental imagery and how visualization aligned with faith can attract miracles. The power of imagination. What you see inside, you create outside. It was just another ordinary Monday morning when Grace, recently divorced, sat on the edge of her bed with her head in her hands. Bills were piling up on the living room table. Fear pounded in her chest. She looked around her apartment, and everything felt like it was falling apart. Inside, a voice kept whispering, "You can't do this. There's no way you can handle all this alone." But that same day, while sorting through some of her mother's old books, she came across a worn-out copy of The Game of Life and How to Play It. She opened it at random and read, "Man can change conditions by creating new mental pictures. What man imagines, sooner or later, externalizes." It hit her like a bolt of lightning. She had always believed that imagining was just wishful thinking, that daydreaming didn't pay the bills. But Florence was saying the opposite. To imagine with faith is to pray with the eyes of the soul. And what you consistently see within, with emotion, the universe begins to build around you. That night, Grace decided to give it a try. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and visualized something she hadn't dared imagine in a long time. Herself walking through a bright, cozy home full of light and plants. Her bills paid, her kids smiling, a sense of peace, dignity, and trust. It wasn't just a picture, it was a new emotional frequency. Florence teaches that imagination isn't fantasy, it's the blueprint of manifestation. Every great achievement starts with a clear and persistent mental picture. You don't need to see it with your physical eyes. You need to feel it with the heart of faith. In the days that followed, Grace created what Florence called a prosperous mental picture. She visualized for 5 minutes a day. No pressure, no desperation. Just feeling it as if it were already real. Not long after, an old client reached out needing help with a project, one that paid enough to get her back on track financially. Then came another, and another. Within 3 months, Grace had paid off her debts. But more than that, she had reclaimed the inner strength she thought she had lost. What did she do? She replaced the image of lack with the image of abundance. And as Florence says, the subconscious accepts images just like it accepts words. What you see with faith, you draw into your life. Now I want to hear from you. If you could visualize a new financial reality for your life right now, what would you see? Where would you be? How would it feel? Share in the comments. Your vision might awaken someone else's dream. Here's a practical and powerful tip from Florence. Create a visualization notebook. Write down how you want to live. Describe the scenery, the smells, the details. Close your eyes and visualize for 3 minutes a day. Make it a ritual. You are sowing seeds into the invisible. And the invisible is the matrix of the visible. Also, use this quote from Florence to stick on your wall or repeat as a mantra. I see only good coming to me. I see my divine provision. I see abundance all around me. What you see within, you create without. And the universe responds precisely, not to your desire, but to the image you hold with faith. Subscribe to the channel and learn below how to bless money and create a steady flow of returns, even when it seems scarce. Blessing money. The secret to making it come back with joy. On a hot summer afternoon, Edward, a freelancer living off odd jobs, was getting ready to pay the rent. With the bill in hand, he stared at the crumpled bills he had carefully saved throughout the month. Deep down, he felt a tightness in his chest. It wasn't sadness. It was anger disguised as frustration. As he slipped the money into the envelope, he muttered almost unconsciously, "There it goes again. Money never stays with me." In that moment, a phrase popped into his mind, something he had jotted down in a notebook after listening to an old audio from Florence Scovel Shinn. Everything you bless prospers. Everything you curse moves away. The words echoed like a steady whisper in his heart. He paused, took a breath, and placed the bills back in the envelope, this time with intention. For the first time in his life, he blessed the money before letting it go. From that day on, Edward created a small ritual. Every time he paid for something, whether it was a large bill or just change at the market, he would silently say, "I bless this money. It goes out and returns multiplied with joy." At first, it felt like he was just repeating pretty words. But something began to shift. The feeling. With every blessing, fear gave way to gratitude. With every payment, he began to feel part of something greater. A flow where giving and receiving are two sides of the same coin. Florence teaches us that money is energy. It's not just paper. It's not evil. It's not dirty. It's a sacred vehicle of divine circulation. Money is God in action and should be treated as such. Imagine treating every coin with reverence, not attachment. Every bill with gratitude, not anxiety. Every expense as a seed, not a loss. Edward kept this ritual for months. Then, unexpectedly, an old client referred him for a steady job. Shortly after, he was offered a partnership opportunity. Within a year, his income had tripled, and he hadn't done anything extraordinary. Except this, he changed the way he related to money. And that's the point. You can shift your financial reality by shifting your emotional and energetic attitude toward money. Florence said it clearly. Gratitude and blessing change the vibration. What you bless multiplies. Do you often bless or complain about money when it leaves your life? Answer honestly in the comments below. You might awaken something important in someone else with your story. Starting today, make this your practice. Simple but powerful. Before paying for anything, a coffee, a bill, a rent check, say it with intention and feeling. I bless this money. It does good wherever it goes and returns to me multiplied. This phrase may sound simple at first glance, but it acts like a vibrational code. You're telling the universe, I trust the flow. I do not fear lack. I align myself with abundance. And remember, this isn't superstition. It's not wishful thinking or magical fantasy. It's a spiritual law, as Florence reminds us. God's laws are exact, and the good you send out always returns. To bless your money is to recognize that you are inside the divine flow. It's shifting from the frequency of loss to the frequency of circulation. It's building a relationship with money based on trust, not fear. And the more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. Until one day you notice, you've become a magnet, not just for money but for peace, clarity, and lightness. Another simple but powerful action. Every time you receive money, even the smallest amount, say, I am grateful. This is the beginning of a new cycle of prosperity. Then, watch how the universe begins to respond. If this video has given you a new perspective on money, please give it a like now. This way, you'll help this content reach more people who need to awaken to this simple yet transformative truth. You'll also learn how to break free from inherited beliefs of scarcity that limit your ability to thrive, even if you work hard. Breaking inherited scarcity beliefs. You don't have to repeat history. When Sophia was a child, she would often hear her father repeat the same phrase over and over, like an unintentional prayer. Money is hard, my girl. You've got to sweat for it, and even then, it's never enough. She grew up with that phrase etched into her heart, not out of malice, but out of love. Yes, love. Sophia's father believed he was preparing her for the real world. He wanted to protect her, to give her a practical view of life. But without realizing it, he was handing down a legacy of emotional and financial lack. For years, even with a degree, a steady job, and plenty of effort, Sophia watched money slip through her fingers. She paid her bills with a tight chest, barely slept thinking about the next month. Every time she received her paycheck, fear of losing it would already creep in. And whenever someone suggested she could prosper with ease, she'd reply with a bitter smile, maybe in a fantasy world. Around here it's a fight, always. Until one day, exhausted and quietly crying on the bus, Sophia heard a voice in her headphones that sparked something inside her. It doesn't matter where you came from. What matters is what you choose to accept as truth now. It was Florence Scovel Shinn, a narrated passage from one of her books. Sophia hit pause, rewound, listened again, and cried harder. That phrase pierced something deep inside her. For the first time, she realized she'd been carrying a legacy that wasn't truly hers, and that she could let it go. And here's one of the deepest truths Florence teaches us, with both gentleness and strength. Every limiting belief is a form of collective hypnosis you can wake up from. Maybe you've inherited phrases like, money doesn't come easy. Honest people don't get rich. If you're born poor, you die poor. If someone has a lot of money, they probably did something shady. But none of these are absolute truths. They are emotional programs passed down with fear and pain, generation after generation, as if they were unbreakable rules. The good news: you can break that cycle with one decision. Share in the comments. What is one money-related phrase you heard growing up that might still be silently shaping how you feel about wealth today? Let's bring light to those beliefs together, because only when you face them with awareness and courage can you truly be free. Florence said our words have creative power, but our beliefs are the soil where those words grow. There's no point in repeating affirmations of prosperity if, deep down, you still believe it's hard, that you don't deserve it, or that suffering is required. So start by noticing. How do you feel when you think about money? What stories do you tell yourself when you can't pay for something? Whose voice are you still echoing? And remember, you can honor your parents and ancestors without repeating their limitations. They did the best they could with what they knew. But you now have access to a higher level of awareness. You get to plant new truths. Florence recommends this simple but powerful practice. Write down on paper the negative phrases about money you heard in childhood. Read them out loud. Then with courage say, I release this belief. I thank it for getting me this far, but I choose a new truth, and declare, I am worthy of prospering with ease. I do not repeat the past. I make way for the new. It may seem simple, but this is deeply powerful. It's a symbolic and spiritual act of breaking free from inherited scarcity. With every new affirmation, you are rewriting your story. You are not bound to repeat the footsteps of those who came before. You are here to take it one step further. And Florence reminds us, the past is just a lesson, not your destiny. If this message touched you, brought up something meaningful, or gave you clarity about an old belief, subscribe to the channel now, and stay on this journey of expansion with us. We'll go even deeper into Florence's teachings, discovering how to open yourself to receive, without guilt, without fear, and without resistance. It might just be a turning point in your life. Learning to receive. The forgotten key to prosperity. Mia had always been generous. She was the kind of person who was always ready to help. If someone needed money, she gave. If a friend was going through a tough time, she showed up. But there was a quiet contradiction behind her kindness. She knew how to give, but she didn't know how to receive. One time, a friend wanted to repay an old favor with a simple gesture. Lunch at a nice restaurant. Mia smiled but declined. Oh please, you already do so much. That's not necessary. Another time, a client wanted to pay her more for a project she had delivered with excellence. Again, she refused. No, this was the agreed price. Really, there's no need. This happened all the time. She felt strangely uncomfortable when something good came her way. Then one random morning, while reading about Florence Scovel Shinn, Mia came across this sentence. There is no gift without acceptance. Refusing good is blocking the flow of life. It hit her like lightning to the chest. For the first time, Mia realized her struggle to prosper wasn't because the universe wasn't giving. It was because she didn't know how to receive. And that's one of the forgotten keys to abundance. Receiving is just as sacred as giving. Florence Scovel Shinn taught that the universe is like a river, constantly flowing. Giving and receiving are the two banks of that same current. When you block one side, the entire flow weakens. And the truth is, many generous people live in scarcity because of this exact pattern. They were taught that receiving is selfish, that accepting money is greedy, that prospering means you must be materialistic. But that's a spiritual misunderstanding. Florence reminds us, you're not taking from anyone by receiving. You're honoring divine supply. It's like breathing. You inhale, you exhale. You don't feel guilty for breathing, right? So why do you feel guilty for receiving? Tell me in the comments. Do you feel uncomfortable receiving gifts, compliments, money, or recognition? How many times have you unknowingly rejected something that was trying to come your way? Talking about this is freeing, and it might open a door for someone else who needs to hear it. Now, here's a simple but powerful practice. Spiritual exercise for conscious receiving. Close your eyes for a moment. Visualize yourself receiving something truly good. A thoughtful gift, an unexpected payment, a genuine compliment, a long-awaited promotion. Let yourself feel the joy. Let yourself feel the gratitude. Let yourself feel that you deserve it. Now say out loud, I receive with love. I allow good to come to me. The universe blesses me, and I accept without guilt. Florence used to say, most people are praying for blessings with clenched fists. In other words, they ask, but they're not open to receive. And this shows up in subtle, everyday ways. Refusing a discount even when you truly need it. Downplaying your gifts when someone praises you. Feeling guilty for spending on something that brings you joy. Saying, you didn't have to, instead of a simple, thank you. Each of these reactions is a clue that, deep down, you might still be closed off to abundance. But here's the good news. That can shift right now. Because the moment you say yes to receiving, you send a clear message to the universe. Yes, I'm ready. And the universe, always responding to your vibration, sends more. The more you receive with love, the more you align with the truth that Florence so beautifully taught. There is no lack in divine mind, only perfect supply, waiting to be received. In the next topic, we'll talk about how to align your emotional state with abundance, even on difficult days. Because, as Florence taught, vibration is more powerful than willpower. If you've made it this far and this content resonated with you, please leave a like. This is how it can reach more people too. Aligning emotions with abundance. When feeling is creating. Joseph was great at mentalizing. He read all the self-help books. He repeated affirmations every single day. I am rich. I am prosperous. I have it all. But the feeling was different. While he declared prosperity with his mouth, his chest felt tight. Deep down, a voice whispered, "But what if it doesn't work? What if this is just an illusion? What if I'm just fooling myself?" And this is the silent trap many spiritual seekers, and even readers of Florence Scovel Shinn, fall into. Making affirmations with their lips but not aligning with their hearts. Florence was clear. The word is the sword, but emotion is the hand that wields it. In other words, it's not enough to affirm, you must feel. Because in the invisible world of creation, emotion is the true builder. Joseph was doing everything right on the rational level. But his emotional vibration, rooted in fear, doubt, and anxiety, was completely out of sync with what he claimed to want. And here's a transformational truth. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you vibrate. Florence explained that all creation begins in the invisible. And the building blocks of that creation are not just words. They are the emotions that fuel those words. When you affirm, "I am prosperous," but feel scarcity, it's scarcity that the universe hears. When you affirm, "I am abundant," but are vibrating worry, it's worry that takes root and grows. But when you're able to feel abundance, even before you see a single sign of it, that's when the magic begins to happen. Florence said, "Faith is feeling that which is not yet seen, and it is that feeling which brings the invisible into form." Mary, a client of Florence's, affirmed daily, "My supply comes from expected and unexpected sources." She repeated it with faith. But one difficult day, crying alone, she decided to feel the phrase as truth. At that moment, something inside her shifted. 2 weeks later, she received an unexpected job offer, exactly as she had said. What about you? Are you just saying it? Or are you feeling it? Have you ever made affirmations that didn't resonate with your inner state? Share your experience below. You might inspire others who are going through this right now. Here's a practical tip from Florence for aligning emotion and words. Before saying your affirmations, pause for 2 minutes. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes. Bring to mind a memory that made you feel fulfilled, loved, and confident. Feel that state, and only then affirm it. For example, "I am divinely provided for." Now repeat it with gratitude, security, and faith. This changes everything. Because when emotion matches the word, you enter the creative frequency. You stop just repeating and start co-creating. Florence said that emotion is the fuel of manifestation. Without it, words are like unsent letters. They remain in the realm of intention. But with true emotion, you send your message to the universe, and it responds. If this content is adding any value to you, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. This way you can continue this journey of expansion. Next, you'll learn how to break the unconscious vows of scarcity that bind you to fear, and that you don't even realize you carry. Breaking unconscious vows of scarcity. The invisible inheritance that sabotages your abundance. Have you ever caught yourself saying things like, "Money doesn't bring happiness. It's wrong to want too much. Only through hard work can we get anything. Rich people are all selfish." Maybe you don't even consciously believe these things, but they show up like an automatic echo. Where do these thoughts come from? Childhood, culture, religion, all of that, and more. The truth is, many of us carry unconscious vows of scarcity. And as Florence Scovel Shinn taught, unless we recognize them, we'll keep sabotaging our own flow of abundance, even with the best intentions. Florence said, "The subconscious accepts what is repeated with emotion. It does not judge. It simply executes. Think of it like a hidden operating system. You affirm prosperity, you read books, you take courses. But deep inside, there's still a little child who once heard, 'Money corrupts,' or 'You must suffer to deserve.' And that child is still in control." A true story, Alice's case. Alice was a holistic therapist, dedicated, loving, deeply committed to helping others. But she could barely pay her bills. She would say, "I don't get it. I help so many people, I give my best. Why doesn't money come?" In a deep conversation, she revealed she had grown up in a deeply religious family. She constantly heard, "It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter heaven." And there was the unconscious vow, "If I have money, I will be unworthy of God." Florence taught that these beliefs must be broken, with awareness and faith. So Alice began using a new affirmation, "I am prosperous and sacred. Being prosperous helps me serve the light even more." Within 3 months, her schedule tripled. She started receiving with ease without guilt, because she had freed herself from the vow of scarcity. And what about you? What limiting phrases did you hear as a child? What inherited beliefs, from your family, culture, or religion, are still vibrating inside you? Leave a scarcity phrase in the comments that you are ready to release. Let's create a space of healing and liberation together. Florence left us with a simple, powerful practice to help identify and reprogram these hidden vows. Start with this affirmation. "I now revoke all vows of scarcity made consciously or unconsciously. I am a spiritual being, free to prosper in harmony with the divine." Repeat it out loud with feeling. And then, watch what rises in the days that follow. Memories, emotions, even resistance. That's your subconscious bringing to light what is ready to be transformed. Florence said, "Nothing is real until it is revealed. And once revealed, it can be healed." You have the power to choose new thoughts, new words, new affirmations. And with each conscious choice, an old chain is broken. You become freer, more whole, more prosperous. You are clearing the path. Keep going, abundance is already looking for you. In the next topic, we'll talk about the power of preemptive gratitude, and how it prepares the fertile soil for the miracles that are on their way. If this content is helping you awaken, please leave a like. This helps us reach more people who also need to free themselves from inherited scarcity. Becoming one with the divine flow. Choosing abundance as a lifestyle. Imagine a mighty river, flowing endlessly. It doesn't question its origin, nor does it worry about its destination. It simply flows, because it's its nature. This is abundance. It's not something you need to earn. It's the natural flow of life when you're in harmony with the divine. What Florence Scovel Shinn reveals to us, with almost prophetic clarity, is that abundance isn't earned, it's allowed. But why does it seem so distant to so many? Because we have moved away from the source. We have lost ourselves in beliefs of separation, fear, and limitation. We have been trained to see money as something external, scarce, almost dangerous. But Florence, with her simple and direct wisdom, invites us to return, not to a physical place, but to an inner state of alignment. Abundance always comes from the invisible, never from the visible source. When you look to God as your source, your channel never runs dry. Final story. Ethan's reunion with the source. Ethan was a businessman. He had gone through many ups and downs, fortune, debt, comebacks. But even during his most successful moments, he carried a constant anxiety. What if it all ends? What if everything falls apart again? One day, exhausted, he fell to his knees in the middle of his living room and said, "God, I can't bear to depend on the world anymore." It was there on the floor that he finally surrendered, and he felt a peace he hadn't known in years. That quiet night, he realized that his real mistake had never been losing money. It was losing the awareness of who he truly was. From that day forward, he began to declare with conviction every single day, "I am one with the divine flow. Everything I need comes to me in perfect time." Not only did his business thrive, but the fear never returned, because the connection was restored. The final calling. This is your journey too. You don't need to chase abundance. You just need to return to yourself, to your source. Choose every day to align with this truth. You are one with the divine flow. When you fully embody this identity, everything shifts. You stop begging for blessings and start living as a conscious co-creator. Grounded, prosperous, at peace. It's not about accumulation. It's about flow, service, and trust. It's not about wanting more from fear of lack. It's about living what is already yours by spiritual birthright. Florence said, "You can change your world by changing your words. Remember, your word is your magic wand. Use it wisely. Declare with courage. Give thanks with confidence. And then, miracles become inevitable." May this be just the beginning of a new life, lived in abundance, awareness, and truth, with light, with faith, and with flow. Which phrase, which idea, which teaching of Florence's touched your heart most deeply? Leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to like and share this video with someone you love or who you think needs this light of wisdom and liberation. May God bless your journey. See you in the next video.